join me here on a lake that I've managed to very fortunately get access to do a bit of fishing. It's a lake pretty much steeped in history, and the fishing area just, they're so old, like old relics. On the off chance, I gave the guy a message and said, is there any chance I could do a bit this autumn over there if it's not too busy? And straight away text back saying, yeah, of course you can, mate. So with that in mind, everything was prepared, like the child at Christmas, you know, the buzz is like massive when it's in new water. So I come down on the Friday, and straight away the sight of the water is just absolutely stunning. It's such a lovely little place, and yeah, I was buzzing to get out in the boat and have a look around on the spot. Saw a few fish, including the big one as well. After that, he left me to it, so I got the rods out, got them on little prime spots. I will say that obviously having the access to use a boat is such an advantage anywhere. But having the access and being the only one to use it, or being the only angler on the lake, is, you know, you learn so much. I use the marker rod a lot when I'm not boat fishing, and you can learn so much from the boat in 10 minutes than what you'd learn with a marker rod, you know, for a whole light session. So I got the rods out pretty prime. The first trip went pretty well. I blanked the first night, but I'd learned by watching where I needed to place my rods for the second. So I went into the second night much more confident, and I managed to bag a lovely old 27-pounder. So it was a really nice start. I knew I wouldn't be able to get down for a couple of weeks after that, but what I did manage to do was keep the bait going in. Nobody else was really paying any attention to the lake at the time, so another big thing at autumn, if you can keep the bait going in and keep it going on the quiet, you're kind of fishing when you're not actually fishing. So all you're doing is stacking the odds in your favour for when you do come down and get your rigs on the spot. So with that, I spent 2 weeks making sure the bait was kept going in, and by the next time I was down for another weekend trip, it was absolutely bang on for it. It was just on the storm calm that came through the country, and the air pressure was down, big winds, it was just perfect big carp conditions. And what happened next was, it was just a bit of a blur really. It was a complete and utter red letter session. I had one the first night off a spot that I'd been baiting, a little tiny spot in the weed, and that was an old 21-pound mirror. That fish, actually, my mate's got photos of his dad with it in like 1979 at 17 pounds, so you can just see how old these fish are. So I had that first night, and then the second morning, I was watching the fish literally underneath my rod tips, and it was upended and feeding, and it took a little bit of time for me to catch what actual fish it was, or to see which one it was, and it was actually the big one. So with that, I've managed to get a bit of bread flake right next to it, and with that, it came in, saw the bait, and it basically moved off out into open water. So with doing that, I managed to quickly tie up a quick chod rig, dropped it on the spot ready for its return, and as I sank the line, one of the buzzers on my open water rods let out a few bleeps, and there was a fish on. So all the way in, I'm playing this fishing thinking there's no way in this world the big one's going to have a fish getting played over its head without getting spooked. So I thought that's my chance of the big one gone for the autumn. And what happened next was a bit ridiculous really. 10 yards out, the big one popped up ready for the net, and it went in first time of asking. And yeah, it was basically a fish that I'd seen pictures of in the past, and as soon as I got the access to fish the lake, I just wanted it desperately. So yeah, to get it like, you know, 4 fish was pretty quick. And yeah, she weighed in at 40.6 pounds, so just over the magical mark as well, so that was really nice. So with the buzz of that, got the rods back out for the next night. Again, conditions were ideal, and I had a 26-pounder, another one of the old mirrors in here, in the night. And then just an hour before first light, one of the open water rods absolutely ramped off again. And after a slow, dogged fight, typical of big fish fight, I landed the third biggest in the lake at 35.12. So my mate come down to do photos from in the morning, and it was torrential rain, but he got some mega shots done. But now join me for my last session probably of the year on here. We'll come down early this morning, had a bit of a boat round. The fish had definitely been on the spot, so they're all smoked up. So the spots I decided to fish this session are a little bit siltier, so I went round with the oar, prodding around on the bottom to find those firmer spots within it. The fish were obviously much cuter than I originally had thought, so I went for my D-rig, dropped one of those on each of the spots, and that definitely did the trick last night. I had one of the lake's really old mirrors, a really nice fish, a 29-pounder, and that one was absolutely nails smack bang bottom lip again. So confidence in the rigs doing the job. I make sure to take as much care and attention and detail to them as possible. At the end of the day, you can chuck a single hook bait at a fish and you need to make sure it's going to pull them towards it to pick it up. So a lot of my fishing is done with freshwater shrimp hook baits, but the way I like to pimp them up is by applying some of the amino extract, little by little, just a little teaspoon at a time, glaze them slightly, just coat them, don't like glug them up completely. Just by doing that, you'll get them, the cork balls, drawing the liquid into them. Every time they just dry and go a bit tacky, add a little bit more. Just keep doing that process over and over again. You cannot go over the top with it. So by doing that, by the time you've got a hook bait, all those liquids are drawn inside, and when they're on the bottom, they're going to leak off, and you can leave them out there for you can leave them out to 48 hours. I've done in the past, and when you bring them in, they're still kicking it out. What I could do a little bit in the spring more than any other time of year, I like to put a little bit of rock salt in there as well, and that just boosts them that little bit more. The only thing I do change my hook baits is the colour. Spring especially, I like to go with a white or a pink just to give them something to home in onto. Autumn time, I like to just match the hatch a little bit more, but everything is still the same. It's still those freshwater shrimp hook baits, and you cannot beat them. Single hook baits, I've caught so many good fish on them, and it's hard sometimes to put a single hook bait out there and have the 100% confidence in that you're going to catch something, but trust me, by doing that and adding it to your approach, you will.